beautiful people. We're doing trees. I know. All kinds of different trees, but they're all linked to the runes. Not necessarily correctly at the moment, but really just about native species to Anglo-Saxon Britain for the moment. And we'll do another series later that involves other trees from other parts of the world. But I was looking into the energy of trees, partly because they're talking a lot at the moment. I've been following a story on the edge of Hyde Park, next to Marble Arch in London. They've created an artificial hill, and it's to encourage people to come back and shop at Oxford Street. And you can pay £8. Yes, I know, £8. And you can go in a lift or up a staircase to the top of this artificial hill so that you can look at how beautiful the park is. It's such a crazy idea. Just go and walk in the park, and you can appreciate how beautiful the park is. So anyway, they've created this, and a few days later, there was a story that people are so disgusted at the experience that they're asking for their money back. And they've spent 2.5 million on this. And it's interesting from many ways. It's interesting in the idea of humans and their greed wishing somehow to create something that is artificial, but they think is as beautiful as something that the natural world has created next to it. A park that was planted for hundreds of years with the most beautiful trees, but somehow some scaffolding covered in some fabric with some plants growing on it is somehow, that sort of notion of sanitized, of being yet further removed from the reality of nature. The other thing that's interesting about it is that originally it was going to cover Marble Arch itself, and the arch was built originally for Buckingham Palace, and when the royal family moved in, they found that the state coach couldn't fit through the central arch, so they had to move it, and they just put quite ordinary gates there. And so Marble Arch was built on a site that's known as Speaker's Corner, and this was a place where you could, on a Sunday, on a soapbox, you could stand and you had freedom of speech to discuss any philosophical idea that you thought was relevant to society. Although even today, if someone complains that you're doing something hateful, the police can arrest you. But Speaker's Corner has been moved into the corner of the park, which is in its own way slightly difficult because the park is owned by the Royal Parks and they can ban anybody from being in the park. So that notion of the freedom to speak can be taken away from you, but also the original space right next to Marble Arch where you had this freedom to speak has been covered by this artificial hill. It's like we're building something to suppress the right to have free speech within the country. The other thing that's interesting about it was that it's an area known as Tyburn originally, and Tyburn was where you had the Tyburn tree, and from 1196 they started executing people there. And so this reminded me of this rune that Rob did, Hengtru. So this is the gallows, this is the tree from which Odin hung. And I thought it was very interesting that that was another energy associated with this area. So I was just trying to remind myself, because it's a long time since I've walked that area, but I seem to recall that it's about 100, 200 metres away from the Marble Arch area where Speaker's Corner is, that the actual gallows was. And the gallows is on another little road junction island, sort of all divided off by traffic, just like Speaker's Corner is surrounded by traffic, the noise of cars and engines to suppress free speech. And they've just recently planted 3 oak trees, very young ones, around the spot. But what I found interesting was that the spot is marked by this image: willful resistance. And the fascinating part of it is that This is an area that's associated with free speech, and yet when people have exercised free speech, a resistance against how the king or whoever was in power at the time, they were then executed for it. So I found this a very fascinating paradox. Free speech can sometimes lead to your execution. So I just thought that was an interesting energy for us to begin with. We're going to be looking now at the 12 trees. But before the 12 trees, we're going to just have a little melody, a little tree lullaby, because I've given a note to each of the trees, but we'll get to that. But just to begin with, let's just bring ourselves into a calm space. So, I've got 12 of the rune cards, some which are and have always been named after trees, and others that I have assigned with the help of my guides a different tree to affect them. I've got lots of the mythology, we've got stories of fairies and goblins and elves. It's a very exciting reading, and I've sat down to do it twice. And previously I was beginning with the oak tree. And every time the oak tree spoke to me, it was telling me that this wasn't the moment to do this. It was giving me messages that were confused. So I'm going to use the runes to decide which tree is read in which order. Now, also, you're going to pick a tree, but when you get there, I will at some point reveal a zodiac sign energy. It doesn't mean you've picked correctly or wrongly. You intue the tree that will give you a message. The spirit of the tree will offer you some kind of advice. But you can later look at your sun sign, your moon sign. Look at the tree. So if, for instance, you pick a tree and then I later say this is Gemini energy, then go to your natal chart and look and see, what do you have in Gemini? How can this affect you? How can this assist you in your growth? This is about the veil being lifted and allowing the closeness of the trees to really work with us. So, actually, Olga's just walked in, so I'm actually going to ask Olga to pick the card each time, because then I don't have to do it. Because she's working on paintings. So, we're beginning with the yew tree. So, now I have to find the yew tree's mythology in my book. So I'm going to hold up these two just for a moment, because actually there are two symbols that involve the yew tree. You might remember that in Rune Raker 3 we did Etbursten, to burst free, to be released from control, and it was that energy of the tension knot. And yo is the trunk of the yew tree, so core frequencies. And this is partly because the yew tree, when it becomes very old and the inside of its trunk begins to die out and hollow, it can send a new shoot up and refill the tree. So let's just go through the book. I happen to know that it's the 11th one that I wrote down. Now, this one is also D flat. So I'm going to resonate a D flat now, the healing note for this. And this is very much, no, I'm not going to say that yet. Let's just have the D flat. Let's just intuitively work through these frequencies. So, C sharp, D flat, it's the spine. Oh, which is interesting because look, it's the trunk. See, I'm getting excited now. So, focusing on your spines, people. So intuitively, I want to say to you that connecting to your collective spine energies, your postures are not good. You're not sitting, standing, walking straight. You're twisted, you're bent forwards, backwards. Try and sit down and just move your spine around gently, changing the shape and position. And then suddenly, especially if you've got headphones on, you'll find a moment when that sound will properly rocket through your body. So let's just do that again. It's going to be a long video, people. So there it was at the end. It got in. So, yews. The yew tree is one of the oldest living trees in Europe. Okay? So, its drooping branches on a very ancient tree are capable of rooting into the ground and sending up a new trunk. Oh, you see, it's so beautiful. A new trunk, a new spine, a new frequency to connect your whole body. Remember that in sound healing, the spine connects all the other notes with the nervous system. So, they live for thousands of years. And actually, there's a tree called Fortingall yew tree in Glen Lyon, which is believed to be Europe's oldest tree. I think it's in a churchyard, but it's up to 9,000 years old. They even have a local legend that says Pontius Pilate's father was working in that area and Pontius Pilate played underneath this tree. So also you need to think about the fact that it has kind of needles as well. Needles are a very important part of our Norse mythology to do with stitching and time. And it's the oldest living tree. It's stitching time at a much slower pace than any other tree. Shakespeare mentions it in Macbeth with sips of yew silvered in the moon's eclipse when he's making a potion. So there's something about the magic that's involved. There's also a famous set of yews that are called the bleeding yews. Bleeding yews. The bleeding yews of Naverne in Pembrokeshire. And it's said in Wales that it bleeds for the wrongful hanging of a young man from it, or it bleeds until a Welsh prince is seated within the Naverne castle. But it also could be until there is world peace. That's another of the mythologies. If you look up pictures, it's got the most beautiful blood red sap, sticky, that's coming out, and it really does look like it's crying and bleeding. So the wood of the yew has been used in furniture making because it's very hard and very close grained. It's also used for the longbows, and remember we had that in the Outburston card, the idea of the longbows. So there was a very famous Robert the Bruce in Scotland ordered bows to be made from the sacred yews of Ardchatton Priory in Argyll, and he was then victorious using these bows at the Battle of Bannockburn in 1314. Also, County Mayo in Ireland, which is where my father's ancestors are from, oddly, was the largest yew forest in the world, supposedly. And it's so ancient that they believe the word Mayo even predates the Celtic language. They believe it was there not just before the last ice age, but actually there before the Great Ice Age. So these yew trees are so ancient and old. What about its medicinal properties? Well, it has anti-cancer properties. So Taxus baccata is used to create a medicine. The highly poisonous taxanane alkaloids developed by modern science into an anti-cancer drug. And here's a really fun bit. Don't all go out and get yourself crazy now. But on a really hot day, the yew tree releases a hallucinogenic vapor, and if you stand in the fine golden pollen that comes off when it flowers, it will shift your consciousness. No shit. So that's the yew. Now, before I start the cards, obviously the yew tree, because of its ability to go in when it's drooping and sort of die and then rebirth, it's obvious that we're connecting with Scorpio. So we're going to go in. Now, this morning, they told me to do this in a completely different way. Not to start with oracles, but to start directly with the tarot. So, I've got the Universal Celtic Tarot, because with luck, I'll have some nice tree stories. Might not, who knows. So, sorry, I need to settle into the spirit of the yew tree. It's a very old, I'm seeing a very, very ancient spirit, obviously. But there's something, like there's a blood red twinkle in his eyes. So, spirit of the yew. Spirit of the yew. What would you like to tell people? Oh, that's so interesting. Look, Scorpio's a water sign. And we're getting two images of water. We're getting the Empress and we're getting Temperance. So the energy of the yew is the Akashic records. They're showing me an image of, like tiny little insects that live for only a few hours, like 24 hours, like a mayfly. And how there are things that move so quickly, we can't see them. And it's almost saying, There's a stillness to both of these cards, and they're saying that the yew tree can't see us. We don't exist almost, because the yew tree's so old and so slow in its frequencies that it doesn't see us at all. But here we have, in this Empress card, a reflection of all that the world was. This is that notion of water and the Akashic records. And it's talking about a download of some kind. Oh, an upload. These are all going to be uploads. That's what they're saying to me. They're coming through the roots. They're downloads to the earth from the greater cosmic music of the spheres, but the trees receive their information from the crystalline grid in the center of the earth, and that comes up through the roots. So this is uploading and tempering. I'm being drawn to the way these two cards join together as a single waterfall. But there's something about the waterfall not pouring until you temper the emotions. It's kind of like death and rebirth energy, but they're one. They're not a single energy frequency. So, can we please have another card? Oh, we've got loads. It's going to be even longer now. Right, so the first one is the Two of Pentacles. To change a frequency of something. It's just interesting. I'm being told how you get lost in your own mind. You get lost in your own emotions. There are the three women here representing the three norms, the past, the present, and the future, because this is very much an energy of time, and it's time to end something and move forwards to a new vision. But it's like the runes are coming. So you have Ten of Swords. This is the frequency of now. This is to end endings. This is really to move forward. That you end the trauma of the past. This woman in the card at the back, I know she's one of the norms, but she's also coming across as the yew tree. And it's like there are blossoms. They're not. They're rose petals. But at the top they're saying it's like the berries in the yew tree. They're showing me that, and they're showing me that Tree of Life labyrinth maze at the back. It's about unblocking your frequency of the past. So here we have the past, and moving to a new energy of the future that's got the white heart at the top, that very rare white gazelle, which Reem is named after. Her name in Arabic means white heart. But it's also this notion that the runic language is transforming all around you. It's offering to clear the briars of your future. Now that's a theme we keep coming up against. They're showing me though, the spirits of trees, the faces, these spirits, these energies inside the old trees, and they're the three norns living inside, living at the roots of the Yggdrasil tree. So that's quite interesting. Now, I don't know whether I need to actually put any other energy on it, but I feel like we'll just with each, we'll pick up an oracle deck, and they'll be different for each tree. I'm going with the shamanic oracle deck for the moment. So can we please, you tree, have a shamanic oracle? Oh, you see, again, it's emotions. You've got to create new emotions. It's the Rainmaker. So this really is about tapping into the energies of water. This is Scorpio energy. This is to transform. This is really moving, tempering down, and then rebirthing, bursting forth with a new emotional language. And look, I keep getting this energy. The yew tree is trying to say to you that the old is over, and it's time to fix into a new energy of the future. But you only do that by sitting with the past and the present in the now, coming together with this energy of change. She's also, it's a little bit like she has the needle to thread a new pathway. There's the energy of so much spirits, tree spirits, grass spirits, plant spirits, flower spirits, and it's like you're being fired up, but you'll flow so much better. Let me just look at this Rainmaker, because there's images hidden inside it. It's like a new emotional language that needs to be communicated. It's coming across as a water peacock. It's like you already know. They're saying to me, you already know that that energy is within you, but you can't, even though you can see it within you, you're not willing to look up and look people directly in the eye and give them that new energy. Say to them, I understand this. I have this new emotional energy to give to you. It's like the fire is not hot water, but like a new passionate emotion that no one's understanding in the way you are. It's look, we keep getting this message, Scorpio, that you have a gift for emotions, passions and sexuality that is so far ahead of everybody that you've been made to feel slightly ashamed to bring that energy forwards. But that's what they want you to do. The yew tree wants you to bring the truth forwards of this new emotional landscape. So that is Scorpio and the beautiful yew tree. So I'm now going to offer the cards to Olga again, and she's going to pull another card, and she might even speak at some point. Thank you, Olga. Prego. So now we have Birch. What's up? What's up? The sap's up. That's what it is. So Birch, Birch is also came through. It's really interesting. Olga's managed to select, first of all, both of the cards, the only two that have a secondary rune. So from now on, you'll only get the one rune. So then I've cleared my space. We're doing a quick clear up. So broom, because birch besoms are the brooms that are used to sweep out in the garden, sweep through the house. The witches' broomsticks are made from birch originally, because birch have a very flexible spray, as it's known officially. So let's find Birch. And Birch is a long one, just like this video. So Birch, this is interesting. Birch is the note E, and it's about beginnings. So I'm going to give you an E. E is the sun. E is solar plexus. So we're dealing with an energy of kind of joy and happiness here with Birch. And very much life force. Okay, so that's your lovely E for your life force. Going to move my legs because they're going to sleep. So, let's discuss birch. So, during the last ice age and the Great Ice Age, every time the ice receded, the very first plant, tree that sprung from the ground was the birch. It's almost they're saying to me, it's like the birch has the fastest sap. It's like its desire to reach down into the earth and then to reach up towards the sun, this solar plexus energy, is just the fastest. The birch is all about beginnings. It's almost, I guess you want to call it like a pioneering species. And it's a lot to do with purification, because it's purifying the entire geography of place when it grows. It's also often celebrated in Samhain, Halloween sort of time of the year, but it's also celebrated in springtime, and that's the important part, this notion of spring cleaning. So birch twigs, these brooms that we make from birch, the birch besoms, they are used to drive out spirits, to clean things through. There's a magical frequency in the leaves and the twigs of a birch. It's also associated with the witches' broomsticks and flying, because if you go to a birch forest, you will find the fly agaric mushroom, which is the mushroom that gives people the hallucinogenic shamanic trip, which often involves flying. It's also to do with the fertility of Beltane. And at that time of year, as spring began on the 1st of May, there is that sense where they would, because the people back then were at one with wood, they were at one with trees, they were at one with the world around them. And so they understood the importance of burning which woods burnt in different ways. And for springtime, for Beltane, it was very important to burn birch with oak. So this is also linked to the magic of Frigg and Freya. So again, that is Sedir, Galdir magic. In Norse mythology, it's the women that have the magic. So there's very much something about a birch that's like the womb, that's fertility, that's bringing something new. It's also linked to the goddess Erstra, which is who Easter is named after. So the name birch comes from the Proto-Indo-European word root bereg, which means to shine brightly and white. So again, you've got that wonderful connection to the sunshine. So, Birch and Bay are the old forms in Gaelic and in Anglo-Saxon, and that is why you have places in Britain that are named Birkenhead and Birkhall, because they were the place of the birch forests. So Tennyson also coined the phrase silver birch, the lady of the woods. He put the silver part on. And they're a very tough, very heavy and straight-grained wood. They're excellent for turning. They're excellent for spinning and then carving shapes from. So they're often used for the bobbins and spools and reels in the cotton industry. But the one, I love this fact that because they're to do with birth and fertility, babies' cradles were traditionally made from birch wood. So they were to protect a newborn child. The branches were also used as the best fuel when distilling whiskey in Scotland. And they've also used to smoke ham, but especially herring. And then the bark is used for tanning leather, but you can also take a birch spray and you can twist all the leaves and the gentle, young, bendy branches together, and you can create a rope that you can then light like a candle. It's also used in the thatching of roofs, so that's offering a sense of protection. And birch sprays were used in place of heather when there wasn't enough heather to create something soft for people to lie on, and then they would put their animal skins and their linens over the top to sleep. Now in Scotland, they make from the sap, they make a birch wine, but the Druids used to make a wonderful cordial that was used for ceremonies during the vernal equinox in spring. The leaves medicinally are a diuretic, they're antiseptic, they're a remedy for cystitis and urinary tract infections. The leaves and the saps, when treated, are used to treat kidney stresses, rheumatism and gout. And the sap can be used for skin complaints when mixed with the bark. So there we have birch, and it's connected to Aries. So very much the fires of Mars. So let's go into the Celtic Oracle. Let's connect with the wonderful spirit of Birch, the newness. So Birch, what do you want us to hear from you? What does the Birch spirit wish to communicate with us? Oh, I mean, look, magical, the 0 card. If anything was about a new beginning, there is Birch telling you it is the new beginning. It's the new journey on the Bifrost. The spirit of the birch tree can take you anywhere in your dreams. It's like they're saying, through the connection of the old birch cots, birch has always been part of us. It's like it works, it weaves its magic inside us at a very young age. They're talking to me about birch allergies as well. That's really interesting. I think it's birch that can give people an allergy to its pollen that exists within things like tomatoes, but when you cook it, it changes. It will get inside the fruit of apricots. It's like birch is telling me that the newness, the beginnings, that energy frequency of a birch is inside so many things and you're not aware of it being there. So we're also being given, they're not in any particular order, so I'm asking them to show me the order. Oh, that's fabulous. So yes, 4 of Cups. You have to sit with a birch. You have to find birch. You have to know birch. You have to seek birch. You have to sit beneath a birch tree and allow the spirit of birch to reconnect with you, because it's in you. Birch has put its pollens inside you, inside us, inside our DNA. I'm also being drawn to the Celtic symbol. It's like, let me just check the pattern of it. It's 2 interwoven symbols that are like 2 petal triskelions. So they're telling me that, it's like they're saying this is pollen of birch spirit inside human. They're saying that the birch is connected to us and wants to work through us, and it creates an interwoven, it weaves itself into everybody's tapestry of life. And then they're showing me the hang through, which we had at the very beginning, the card of the Tyburn gallows, the hanged man. It's particularly wonderful on this card because it helps to show you that frequency of the leg folded up. So there's a really wonderful echo of the energetic shapes there. But what it's saying is this is nature will wait forever for you. It's in you. The beginnings of everything, your molecules, everything about you that's part of the natural world you're made of tree, you're made of rock, you're made of all these different things. And the natural world will wait and wait and wait for you to open your heart to the natural world. That's so beautiful. I feel very much like this is kind of like clouds of aspen leaves, but we'll come to aspen at a later point. Because there was something in this card that was saying to me that you have to connect to birch and something else. While the birch is connected within you, it's like you're waiting to connect to some other tree. It's like the birch is in us all. The fires, the passions, that Aries beginning is in everybody. And then where are you going? This is what's so interesting. This is 4, and this is 4 as well, the Emperor. And that's very much that notion of the larger part of Aries frequency being in April. And this is about becoming renewed, becoming something new, connecting into the earth. He is the tree. Before, he's in front of the tree. The tree is calling, and now he is the tree. And there's that sun. There's that light shining above you, the energy of the E of the solar plexus coming into your sovereignty. That's gorgeous. Oh, and actually, I didn't notice that one down there. 9 of Cups. This is the energy of the birch tree. This is the spirit of the birch tree. This wonderful young woman in white, silver birch. So this is the spirit. She's pregnant with the natural world. She's pregnant with desires for each of us. She's pregnant with desires for the world. That's so beautiful. I love how that was hidden. You can't find that energy until you sit with Birch. You have to sit with Birch. I have to say, Cindy, you'll find that easy. There's loads of silver birch trees. I've seen them in your videos all over Canada. So, we need an oracle card to go with that. And I'm being told to use the Odin for this one because of the connection to Frigg and Freya. So, let's just have, please, from the silver birch, spirit of the birch tree, this wonderful fertility. What would you like to say? What would you like to say, please, spirit? What would you like to say, please, spirit? Birthright. I mean, unbelievable. What would she like to say? It's your birthright. It's all of our birthright to be in the world, to be connected to the world, but to be connected to the world through the spirit of trees. You're not connected to the world if you don't connect with the world around you. You can't live in carbuncles of concrete. You have to live alongside the natural world. And that's everybody's birthright. The natural world is our birthright. Do not let anybody take the natural world away from you, she's saying. So, that's Birch, people. I'm going to put the cards all back separately in this deck. And we're going to move on to another tree. She was nice. And she was in that quote by Tennyson. I just need to remind you of it. He says not able to find it. It's back a page. No. I've gone back 2 pages. Oh my God, what have I done with it? Where? Oh no, there, Birch. So Tennyson was the first to coin the phrase silver birch, the lady of the woods. Beautiful. And also that line from Shakespeare of the, was it in this one? Or am I making that up now? That might have been in the yew tree. It was to do with silver though. Slither. It was a slither. I was getting my brain confused there. So yeah, a little bit of Tennyson. I think Coleridge or someone, Samuel Coleridge, connected also the silver birch in a poem. So we've done Birch, and now we're going to ask the beautiful Olga to pick another card, and I'm just moving them around. Look, I'm going to make a hand appear. Which one are you having? You can't have them all. Ash. So next we've got Ash. Esk. This is very similar to Oak, but they're slightly different. It's also very similar to Os, which is the mouth of God, the source of God. This is Ash, and Ash is very much Yggdrasil. And look, we've got all these lovely bark paintings behind me. So let's find Ash. Ooh, can't tell you the star sign yet. So it's connected historically to Poseidon. Oh no, hang on. Well, there's a bit of a giveaway. We need an E flat. It's livers and kidneys and spleen, people. And you'll see that part of its medicinal properties is very much that. So I need to sing you an E flat. Neptune. Livers, kidneys and spleen. No. No. So, here's the mythology, people. So, it's connected to Poseidon. This is a frequency. The ash tree is to do with strength. It is the Yggdrasil tree in many ways. Oddly, the ash is part of the olive family, which I didn't know. And I'm still not sure I quite believe that. Doesn't seem possible. But I will say, last year, during the first lockdown, in Hastings, Alexandra Park has the second most diverse collection of trees in Britain. And so there were lots of trees to wonder at and during the springtime. And I kept wondering what their names were and various different aspects of them. And the trees just kept saying, don't look us up, look at us. Study us in our natural setting. Don't look for the labels that science has put on things. So it's very much that frequency of not worrying about whether it really is part of the olive family or not. It doesn't matter. It's an ash tree and it stands in its own power with its own spirits. So, in Ireland, the ash is a very sacred tree, just as it is to Norse mythology. But it's usually oak, hawthorn and ash that are found together. And sometimes they add yew trees. And in 1665, when Christianity started to dominate Ireland, they cut down a lot of the ash trees to symbolise their victory over paganism. So it was also an ash staff that St. Patrick in Ireland used to remove all the snakes from the island. Ash is also, it's always planted near birthing places of water, because you need to think about the Yggdrasil tree. Urður, the past, her well, Urð's well, is at the base of the Yggdrasil tree. So very often you get this notion that man and woman, man is made, first man, Ask, is made from the ash tree by Odin Villiam-Veigh and carved, and then Embla sometimes is seen as the well of water, the well of wisdom, the well of all emotions that's at the base of the Yggdrasil tree, feeding life, just as Ymir was fed nutrition from the holy cow in the void. So, ships in Greece were also made from the ash tree, and you can use the barks, the seeds, and the leaves to make various different medicines. It's to do with strengthening the livers and kidneys and spleen, which I love because I'd already assigned Neptune through Poseidon, and so it becomes very much Piscean energy, Pisces energy, and that's beautiful. And we, as I said, we had that E flat, that great detoxing energy to change things. It's also used to detox. It's also used for gout and rheumatism. The inside of the ash bark can be used as a disinfectant and is used to cleanse wounds. I'm seeing just pieces of bark laid across wounds and then just wrapped and bound around with cloth so that the antiseptic qualities would work. Also, if you take the leaves and put them inside your boots, they will refresh tired feet. So that's the ash. Let's just go straight into the tarot and ask the spirit of the ash tree, the Yggdrasil tree, what it would like to say to us. So a card has already fallen out, at my tired feet. And it's the Page of Pentacles. It's like this is the spirit of first man emerging from within the tombs of the land. But it's talking to me about how we are molecules. Our physical vessels are molecules of the natural world. And it's about being present in the real world, not being hidden, being in the open, being grounded, they're saying, being very deeply grounded. The ash is one of the tallest trees that grows in the landscape here. Well, not here, I'm in Portugal, but I mean in Anglo-Saxon Britain. It's one of the tallest, and that's why it's often associated with the Yggdrasil tree. It has a very silvery grey bark that's quite smooth. So it's showing me the same card that we had with Birch, the new beginnings, but here the story is different. The Yggdrasil tree is the pathway to all things. You walk your own personal Yggdrasil tree to fix all things in your life. So what's the message, please, that you would like to give? Spirit of the ash, spirit of the Yggdrasil, spirit of the embodiment of the first man as opposed to the first woman. There's some interesting stuff to come up later about first woman, linked to both hermaphrodite energy and others. So there's a card that's flicked far away. 3 of Cups with 20, the Judgment. Oh, this is interesting. Right, so this is the Norns happily skipping maypole dancing around the base of the Yggdrasil tree. There's a joy, there's a reunion. So they're saying you have to connect first with the Norns, with the shadows, with the darknesses. You have to bring light to the roots of your personal Yggdrasil tree. You have to water your own dark roots. They're binding, they're weaving, they're embroidering ribbons all around the ash tree's trunk. And the trunk was the first message, the yew tree message. So this is the norms. You have to connect with your past, your present and your future. The space between these two cards. Then they're giving me the Judgment card. Now for me, in the new rune deck that we're working on, the Judgment card is to move into stitching in the now. But this is Manannan. This is the sea god. It's that card. The sea god of the Isle of Man. It's talking about the physical molecules that you have to step into your physical body. And then we have, on this card, he's riding a dolphin. Dolphins are to do with the energy of being interdimensional, moving between different frequencies. So there's something about the connection of your higher self. It's an ancestors calling out from the darkness, trying to get you to skip across your Yggdrasil tree. There's lots of dolmen on these cards, and the dolmen represent the grave sites, the burial mounds of many of the different members of your ancestry. I'm just checking because sometimes there are really important. Some plants are planted over burial mounds, but it isn't this. There's something that they're saying about the disinfecting your past, disinfecting your ancestral past, cleansing a wound, wrapping yourself in the bark of your Yggdrasil tree, becoming that frequency. So you connect with your Norns. You bring your, see, look, there are these two dolmens on these two cards running between there's almost like the reality, the truth, the light of the dolmen on this card is lit and is fully green. On this card, it's like the space, interdimensional space between your physical world and being grounded here and the space of being in another dimension where your higher self resides, but in the now with you, flashing in and out. And then we have the top of your Yggdrasil tree is Elven. This is the energy of Elfamir. This is the frequency of, it's like everything's the wrong way round. So your roots, the darkness is full of light and colour, and the heavens has a kind of dark sadness, because you have to work out how to deal with the wounds of your past to bring yourself into the physical now. Okay, so that's the message for Ash, and I'm going with the mystical shaman again for this one. Even though the Norns are there, you see now they're saying put the deck down and a single card didn't come out. They want the Odin. Right, so I need to do that again. 2 cards fell and I really just want one. So let's go. Spirit of Ash, Spirit of Egypt. Oh, look, there's a massive collapse. And the same 2 cards came out. I'm going to show you what they are, because obviously it's what they want me to say. I didn't want to. This is Logir. This is the inner womb. This is the energy of the Elfamir, unable to awaken your higher self until you go down and plug yourself into the earth and deal with your molecules. It's just repeating that energy frequency. There's wonderful emotions to be found within inside you. And this is a sense of masculinity and femininity, the physical and the ethereal, the consciousness. You have to work to connect all your frequencies together by bringing yourself into the present. It's not like stop dreaming, but it is about creating your dream to be real. There's 2 other cards and I'm going to have to show them to you. One which is Os, ask. It's come out to show you that this is the vessel of the mouth of God. The ash is the Yggdrasil energy. And that's really beautiful. Again, on this card, it's the masculine and feminine frequencies being combined in a single infinity loop. And this is a card that has the daylight, to bring the daylight back to the heavens. So to turn your world completely upside down, you have to take your ancestral past and pass it through the eye of the Norn's needle to come back out into a new energy frequency. So that's ash. That was very beautiful, even though I didn't want there to be 4 oracle cards. Just because this video is going to end up being 3 hours long at this rate, and that was never the intention. So, did I say at all? Yeah, that was Pisces energy. I did, but it's very difficult to remember everything that's going on. Let's put the cards back, all separately, so that they don't come out again. I'm very sorry, Ash Tree, for trying to refuse your 2 cards you showed me. I will pay better attention. So, what's happened there? Oh, there they are. I knocked the next runes over. So, let's offer them up to Olga, and she will, in her quiet painting mode, so, ooh, Hawthorn. And that's very strange, because I just looked down and Hawthorn's next in my book. So, Hawthorn, Gateway to Magic, Portal. Hawthorn and Blackthorn, similar. Interestingly, the Hawthorn, rather surprisingly, just to label something when we shouldn't, and we've been told off for it, it's part of the rose family, the thorns. So, this is the magic fairy tree, but this is bee consciousness. This is divine feminine consciousness that comes through the galactic center of the universe. Ooh, little bit of black hole news, because the galactic center of the universe is a black hole in Sagittarius. Scientists yesterday discovered that even though they believe that the black hole sucks in nothing but darkness, recently, just the other day I guess, they've discovered flashes of light behind the darkness. X-rays, flashes of divine consciousness hidden behind the veil. So this is a bee, crown chakra. There's a lot of dust on the top of your heads, people. That makes me want to cough. Can you all just rub the top of your heads? Sweep off all that dusty old crap you're thinking about and focus on the nice new clean energy, because that hurt my throat. Thank you. Beautiful at the end. Well done for clearing off. Because that was choky, that was. Right, so. Hawthorns. Thomas the Rhymer. Sorry, I can't help myself. Thomas the Rhymer was a 13th century mystic. And he sat beneath the hawthorn tree. And the fairy queen came through. And she took him into the underworld. Whoa. So. This is a magic fairy tree portal. I've seen images of Hawthorn bound into pentacles. You must never ever damage a Hawthorn tree. You have to give them so much respect, because you will incite the rage of the grey folk, the fairies, the magic people. So brides in the summer, if they gave great respect to the tree, were allowed to collect sprigs of the flowers for their bouquet or for their hair when they were getting married. So they live to be about 400 years old, and they have 5 white petals, and it's the whiteness of their blossoms that create the notion of them being a goddess tree with a female energy. So the wee folk in Ireland look after the lone bushes and trees that grow on the hillsides. In Westminster Abbey in London, which is the only abbey that survived the Reformation, all others Catholic institutions were removed, but that one was kept because Henry VIII's father was buried there. That was built over a place called Thorney Island, which was a sacred grove of hawthorn trees. So there's a little bit of a sense that they've incurred the wrath of the magic folk. And that's been fine until now. But now the magic folk, the animal spirits, the animism behind everything is coming out the earth because we're in air epoch. Try not to bring hawthorn into your house. It's not good. It brings a kind of sense of illness and death. But that's partly because the smell of hawthorn blossoms, which has got a very, a kind of spermy life force smell, forgive me there, but it has, in sort of, in the medieval period, during, actually, if you think 800 years ago, first air epoch that we were last in, the air epoch we were last in, that's when the Black Plague was around, and the medieval people said that the smell of a hawthorn tree was the smell of the plague. And that's because there's a thing in it called trimethylene, and that smells the same as rotting flesh, which is, to me, fascinating because it shows how the life force of pollen uses the scent of decay to create new life. It completes cycles. So also, they quite often make the fruit of the hawthorn is the haw, and they make haw wine and haw jellies. The tool, the handles, the wood can be used to make the handles of tools, and also as a decoction, you can use it to reduce high blood pressure. So Thomas the Rhymer, as I said, is an interesting energy, bringing the frequency down deep inside the darkness of the world and the magic folk. So the hawthorn is called the May tree, and it's celebrated as the beginning of May. And so it's very much Taurus, fixed earth Taurus energy, because there is a sense that the grey folk, the magic folk, the fairies are very unbending in how they live their lives, because they live with total respect for nature, unlike humans who live for total respect of their own opinions. So let's go into the cards. Yeah, we've done Taurus, we've said it's Taurus, and let's see what the cards have to say. So, I guess it's some beautiful fairy queen here that we're dealing with. The spirit of the hawthorn, the magic of the hawthorn. I'm kind of getting the energy of Queen Mab, who was actually the midwife queen of the fairy folk. We have one card. They're telling me don't sleep under a hawthorn. They're telling me this is that energy of the danger of a hawthorn. If you disrespect a hawthorn, they'll open a portal into your nightmares. It's nice. So, aside from that lovely warning, okay. They're saying to me, be respectful. I'm not very good at that. Okay, please, hawthorn. It's interesting, this connection again to the norns. The roots of the trees. They're saying the roots of the trees because this is the underworld card. to be taken through to the realm of the fairies. Oh, that card got really dented. So, what do we have here? Right, we have quite a few. We're getting repeat energies. I'm finding this fascinating because at the moment we are in with the planets all going retrograde, there is a sense of frequencies matching at the moment to bring an entire collective into the same energy. But the first card we have is the Hermit. I'm being told to say that this is old mother time. Not old father time, old mother time. This is the notion of a goddess frequency that came before everything. Consciousness from source that comes with no physical but can create physical. She's coming across as the raw feminine, but the divine the whole feminine frequency. That's really interesting. I mean, you know, Mab, she's reminding me of how I once held the energy of midges in my hands, and that's exactly how they looked. After they stopped being the little zigzags, they became these tiny little orbs of light, and they were just energy shifting in between dimensions and pulling them in to move them with my hands. It's about the power of your own mind over your own destiny, they're saying. The power of your mind over your own destiny. Is this portal the size of a needle, or is it the size of the cosmos? It's down to how you weave your own energies, how you move the magic of the molecules. So we have the Four of Cups and the Seven of Swords. It's asking you to sit again with elven, with fairy folk. You've got to sit and you've got to work out how to remove. So they're saying dragon lines, but they're saying to me like historic ropes, weights, Jormungandr, snake energy frequencies, these, how to connect with and remove the energies. It's like, oh, it's so interesting. The dragon is not removing the swords, the dragon is planting the swords to draw the swords across the old timelines. This old mother time energy, it's time to move the energies forwards to something else. Right, they want me to just go 939, 939. That's like the inner frequency and the divine. The inner energy and the divine is coming through. And here we have 4 and 7. This is about moving the molecules from 4 to 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is the moment when you have your divine frequency, your inner, you're being given 2 nines. You're being given assistance from the divine mother time to change something about the world around you. And the 4 in the Tesla code is the point before you jump forwards. There's a part of this story missing, which is the 8 before the 7. So I'm going to ask the mystical shaman to provide you with the 8. What is the frequency of the 8 molecule? That's literally too many cards. We haven't got time to read 5. Let's give them a rifle and let's get into this. So, Can you please explain what's the frequency of 8? What's this missing piece? Because usually the missing piece is the 9, but the 9's here with you. You know, the MAB frequency, old mother time, she's here working with you. Your own, it's like a higher consciousness from a dimension you can't even understand. Sorry, I can't even understand. I'm not saying, I mean, we can't understand. That energy is coming, that source frequency, but there's something missing on the frequency of the 8 energy on the molecules. So it's given you another 9. It's a divine energy. It's like they're saying, stop hunting. Stop trying. This is so interesting. You're creating your own nightmares because you're seeking something that's not available. Old Mother Time, the Norns, are offering you a solution, but you're refusing to open your eyes and see it. You're refusing, and there's a lot of closed eyes to do with this. It's like you're asking, they're saying to me, for personal power over something you have no right to have power over, which is the natural world. You have to stop. This has very much got to do with not just hunting around for your own solution with this tree, but also stop hunting, stop abusing the natural world in your desires to move forwards. They just want to keep saying you are creating your own nightmares by not working with the natural world. But the natural world is here to gift you such beauty. You've got 3 9s. 999 is such a higher dimensional frequency. It's Elohim energy. It's the architects of the universe frequency. And yet you're somehow ignoring it. And they're just going to plow in. They're going to plow in and they're going to expect you to wake up. I'm just going to ask for one more card because what do people need to do that have got Hawthorn then? What do they need to do? It's the moon. You need to work with the moon cycle. Right, they're showing me herbs hanging up. They're showing me... They're showing me sort of like a creature that can't ground itself. A creature that's your thought process. That you have to ground yourself. You have to bring your dreams into reality. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're showing me the 5 lights. The 5 energies of the hawthorn petal. They're showing me the frequency of how death and rebirth is one frequency. They're showing me the scent of life and death. And they're talking about how it's being smeared all over you. And yet there's something about they're showing me feet that exist only as kind of like upside down pampas grass. They're showing me this notion of your feet not being part of it. You're not lifting yourself in. You're clothed in the red, this protective frequency of this dress, but you're underneath that. It's like you don't have your legs. You're barely standing. You've got to work with the truth of your emotions. Call on old mother time. You've got to call on old mother time. You've got to be Thomas the Rhymer. Go to a hawthorn tree if you can and be very humble and ask the hawthorn tree to guide you. Oh, and that one's hiding underneath my leg. Again, it's that frequency of your Elfamere needs to be lit. Not just with the moon. It's like there's an emotional stagnation. So they're saying to me there's something about you trying to push for the sprigs of a hawthorn so that you can feel that you are bridal, that you have found your love. That's what it's to do with. You're seeking to be the bride before you've connected to your own emotional truth. Wow. I was a bit tricky from the Hawthorn. I kept thinking, they kept saying bridal, 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 and I was like, I can't see anything bridal in this. And that's the point. Dreaming too soon, making your whole life a nightmare with the toxicity of twin flaming. So, fix yourself and a mirror soul will come along. Right, so that was Thorn. We're going on to the next one. Olga's not in the room now. She's just gone out to wash brushes and things. So I'm going to have to pick one myself. So, oh, I've dropped one. Well, we're going to take the one I dropped. That seems the easiest way to do it. It's the Alder tree, and this is Urthgrap, the earth's grip. This is soil, grave, and the earth. So there's the image, and it's the Alder tree. And the Alder tree is, I think, part of the Birch family. Let's find. I love the Alder tree. There was an alder tree growing outside the house of my narcissistic ex. Anyway, it just made me think of it then. Because I'd never experienced the visual of an alder tree. And he lived quite high up, so the branches of the tree were just outside his windows. So Alder is a member of the Birch family. So Alder is C. The earth grip. The frequency of the earth is C. So let's have a C. Let's go have a little sip of water. This is your bones, all of your physical molecules. This is divine masculinity. All that belongs to the world, the earth, all that must return to the earth's soil at the end without any sense of your consciousness. Drawn to talk about the fact that this card is being numbered 29 in the Anglo-Saxon part, because 29 is 11 and 11 is the frequency of the crystalline earth grid in the center of the earth. So Alder, bet you've not heard of an alder. Well, many of you will have, but alder's a fascinating one. So alders like to grow around swamps and streams. And they like their roots to be very waterlogged. And an alder wood or an alder forest is known as a carr, C-A-R-R. So you get carrs, alder forests. And they make a green dye from the flowers of the alder tree, which is Robin Hood green, and it's a camouflaging colour. It's also the colour that the fairies use to conceal themselves from human eyes, so they make their own clothes from the same colour. If you put the leaves in your shoes of the alder tree at the start of a journey, it will cool your feet and prevent them from swelling. So the wood, interestingly, does not rot in water. In fact, when you put alder wood inside water, it becomes rock solid. And that's why at the moment this rune is being used, because there's a sense of the soil, the water as well at the top, the moisture, and then the entire energy of the tree trunk being beneath the soil or water inside the ground. I'm going to explain a little bit more about that rooting system in a minute. But first of all, the Bronze Age people used them as strongholds on locks, because you could make bridges, you could make piers by putting the alder trunks inside water, because they just do not rot in water. Out of water, they immediately rot. So this is a very magical tree, a wood that behaves very differently to many others. So it's not good as fuel, but it does make good charcoal because it burns at an extremely high intensity. Now, the Celtic people used it to make weapons, and the charcoal was also used in the manufacture of gunpowder. Now, in Britain, in England particularly, they used to make the clogs for the people from alder wood because it kept the feet very chilled, and it's a very poor conductor of heat as a wood. Now, the living wood itself is very pale in colour. It's a kind of deep orange when it's cut, and it looks a little like it's bleeding. And then it can go to a rich brown, and furniture is often made from alder wood, and it's often called Scots mahogany. Now, this is the part that I really love about alders. Alders have nitrogen fixing nodules on the roots that improve soil and the fertility of soil. So they're excellent for reclaiming degraded soils from industrial sort of wastelands and things. So if we planted more alders in places where the soils are not good, remember, all trees call the frequency of water towards them, so they draw water towards the land, and this will put more nitrogen into the soil. So the leaves are tear-shaped or heart-shaped, and they have both male and female catkins and flowers, and as a tree they're incredibly flame resistant. Now, when you look at places where at the moment the world and forests and trees keep burning, you kind of think how if we managed our arboreal layouts a little better, maybe we could create barriers of trees that are more flame resistant between trees that are much more flammable. So the Welsh god Bran was a giant, and when his sister marries an Irish prince and he feels that the prince is not being fair to her, he decides to cross the Irish Sea with his army, but they can't cross the sea, so Bran lies across the water, and they all climb across him, and he's very much associated, this god Bran, with the alder tree, lying in the water and becoming a rigid structure. The sap is a reddish brown colour like blood. It's used to make warriors' shields. It's also used medicinally for inflammation, rheumatism, and the bark can be used for diarrhea. If you get a bag and fill it with the leaves that have been heated, it can help chronic skin disorders. The oil is very good for the muscular system, anxiety and nervousness. And it's also the goddess of spring and dyes that come from this plant, because of the fact that it's used by the fairies as a way of hiding from humans. Also, you can make a whistle very easily from the shoots, and that's because the pith inside is very easy to clean out, and that's where the phrase "whistle up the wind" comes from. So it's really interesting how there's multiple layers of earth, fire, resistance to fire, water. It's like this tree contains many of the elements, and it tries to teach you when you should take up the sword and when you should take up the shield. When should you be offensive and when should you be defensive? So this, rather strangely, as many of you will think, is linked to Capricorn, because Capricorn's cardinal earth, and the nitrogen giving properties of the roots are very much cardinal earth frequency, to return the earth to something that it's lost. The Earthgrap. So, spirit of the alder. Spirit of the Alder, please, what message would you like to offer? Oh, look at this. I just said about how it had all the elements, and that's what the magician has. The magician holds all of the elements and works with them together. And then it's 3 major arcana cards. This is massive frequency. It's the tower. The tower? Yeah. The tower. The structures around you being taken down. And then the final card is the world. To go from 1 to 15 to 21. 1, 5, 2, 1. 1, 1, 5, 2, 1. 1, 1, 5, 7, 2, 8, 9, 1, 10. There's a completion and a new beginning being created here. And there's the bells. So I'm being told to move this into oracle decks, but I'm being drawn to the fact that there's a connection to the Rowan tree. Why is there a connection to the Rowan tree? That's to do with the blood inside. So this is something to do with blood, water, the freedom of the blood moving through the body. So let's go into, I feel like I have to pick up this deck, the Awakening Pathways, Le Chemin de l'Éveil, the Evil Pathways, the Awakening Pathways. So we've got a 10. We're dealing in a new realm frequency. We're dealing within an energy of creating something new. So they're talking about the nitrogen giving properties at the root of the tree. They're talking about how, if you think about Capricorn's the mer goat. There's something connecting the leglessness of the goat, because it should have hind legs, but it actually has a fish's tail. They're talking about that connection to Venus, Aphrodite, because of pulling the chariot. But they're dealing very much here in the physical realm. It's changing the frequency of the world around you somehow, creating a new realm. I need another card, please, on that for Capricorn. Please. What are they doing? Yeah, it's duality, but they're showing me this as a mirror, as you being a mirror on yourself with the spirit of the Alder. It's creating a new realm, taking from the old and bringing something new, to conjure something up that will strip what lacks. That's a really weird thing, because if you lack something, how can you take it away? But it's almost like saying, stripping away the layers that block the incoming. And this is very much the energy of incoming, to complete a cycle. I need to go back to the tarot. I need that explained. Stripping the incoming, please. It's a bit deep. There's a card that's stuck that I just want to look at. It's the 5 of Pentacles. And they're saying it's about being refreshed. Having that frequency of having been locked out. This is your message over and over again that comes through with Capricorn, but it's coming through with this. Having been locked, because I didn't write it down, but part of the mythology of the Alder, it said when you go on a journey, you should never cross an alder tree because it would bring bad luck. It's almost like that's that energy again. Never cross a Capricorn, it'll bring bad luck. It's more to do with having been locked outside of something, having been seeing the world through the wrong windows the whole time. And this is the new energy, the new realm that you see things through. This completion of this earth cycle to come into something new. So we got 2 more cards. Oh, actually we got 3 more cards. Yeah, handing over. Look, this is almost like replacing your old self with your new self. The old earth self back here in green, in the colour of the Robin Hood green, is being replaced by the new emotional energy of you with your water realm, the frozen aspects of the water being melted. And then the last 2 cards, Capricorn, that come with it. Movement and magic, movement and sovereignty. And, you know, he's a bit hot, this one. So, movement, the chariot, it's like the physical world is parting for you. And there's a sea of heather, of blue heather, being like a sea, the earth sea, the emotions of the akashic emotions that are inside every single plant, every single cell, not just in the water, not seeing it as separate. And then you have the 9 of Pentacles. You have this frequency. I mean, can I just say that you've got so many major arcana cards. This is a big cycle coming to an end. It's changing the guard. You're changing your expression. You're changing your emotion. You're moving forwards. You're the colour between the boundaries of the black and the white. And it's like you're rooting anew. This is that energy of the clogs. This is that energy of the core frequency that needs to be plugged in to the sea of heather, to root anew. This is to grow your feet from the tail, to stop being a mergoat and actually run free on the land itself. Beautiful. So, we got there in the end. They're very difficult messages to pull out. Also because there's so much of the mythology hidden away within this, and we need to see through the whole thing to try and keep track of everything. So that's that one. We've still got so many to go, and we're on 1 hour 37. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 7 still to go. But Olga's going to pick us another one. Just going to move those. Look, that's an artist's hand. Ah, Watergafal. Willow. Willow. Watergafal. Robin Ream did this one, so you can look that up. It's an A because Willow is connected to the moon. And so we're going to use the third eye, the A of the third eye. It's so interesting, actually. I'm going to give you a little bit of a clue here. But inside willow bark, they used to chew willow bark, there was salicylic acid, which was turned into aspirin, and it was the first synthesized drug. Isn't it fascinating that I'm about to sing an A, which is the moon, which is the third eye, which is to clear the energy of headaches, and it comes from the willow and the moon. I love the natural world. So, oh, Baby Osso just joined in on that, and he actually rumbled a very low A. Maybe he's got a bit of a headache with me keep talking all the time. So let me just get that back out. So, that was that one. So, we now need to look at the mythology behind the willow. So, the willow tree is very much associated to Hecate. Who's Hecate? She's a wonderful goddess who comes from the underworld, a very powerful goddess of the underworld, who teaches witchcraft and sorcery. And there's also, she works with a goddess energy that's called Helice or Helis, which is the willow. And she was Zeus's nurse, which kind of bugs me very slightly, just on the whole notion that why is he ill? And why does he need a woman to come and fix him when he's ill? But it could be, again, to do with the sorcery and the magic. Like in Norse mythology, it's the women that hold the power of the magic, and it's the men that have to learn it for them. So maybe all Zeus has is his thunderbolts to throw around. And when he's feeling a bit down, he needs the magic, the true magic. So, and she's associated with water. So this is very much water magic. The willow muse is called Heliconian, and she was very, very sacred to poets. Orpheus also carried willow branches on his journey into the underworld. So you can see again, we're dealing with Hecate and also Hel, that notion of the female goddess, the raw feminine that is connected to a divine feminine, but who teaches how to burn away an ego so that you can replace it with love. So Apollo gave Orpheus a lyre, which is a harp that was made of willow, and many Celtic harps were traditionally made of willow wood. So there's something about sound healing frequencies within the willow frequency. The calming of pain, that's the salicylic acid, the aspirin. It's about renewal and vitality. Also, willow grows vigorously when you cut it back. So there's about the sense of rapid magical healing contained within the energy of this female deity. In the 16th and 17th century, it began to be distorted in its understanding, and it was associated with the grief suffered by forsaken lovers. Now, the energy that I'm picking up right now as I say that is that that's to do with that notion of back in the 17th, 16th and 17th century, the only chance a woman had for a life was to be picked by a man. And that's not a good energy. So there was a sense of grief attached. You've only got to read a Jane Austen novel to get an appreciation of that. So, often people who felt forsaken by love, this is really weird, they would wear a willow crown just so that everyone knew they'd just been messed up. That they'd been dumped or left. Which is a really weird energy frequency. So the willow, the weeping willow, which is famous for grief and mourning, comes from China. And in Scotland, they make a 3-ply cord from the wool of the catkins, and that's used to protect against unseen forces. It's also got incredibly bendy wood, which is used for shelters, baskets. It makes the most beautiful artistic charcoal. And it can absorb shocks. That's the fascinating part of this. Willow absorbs shocks, which is why they use willow to create cricket bats and cricket stumps. So, chariot wheel spokes are also made by the Celts, and Dutch clogs were made from willow. Also, lots of travellers and people would use willow clothes pegs. I don't know why it's associated with only them, but that's how the mythology came up. I'm quite sure many people made willow clothes pegs because there's probably some energy to do with it not splitting under the stress of wet clothing. So it's used to make rope. In the Highland, bark strips of the bark were used to tie down thatch to roofs, and you can also make cloth from willow. Wicker furniture obviously comes from willow, and that's the kind of, also all the wicker baskets and things were kind of the pre-plastic containers that we had. You put things in willow, and sometimes they were lined with fabrics. So there were also willow coffins, and they're coming back now, and that just brings us right back to Hecate and hell, and the idea of you going down into the underworld at your death wrapped in willow. So beavers used to eat a lot of willow. Well, they still do. And the salicylic acid inside them would concentrate at the base of their tails in a gland, and it was called castoreum. And this was such a prized medicine that this was why beavers were hunted into extinction in many places. So the aspirin, the salicylic acid, that was the first genetically synthesized drug that was available on the market. I believe actually there's a story about how Queen Anne, who had 16 children and they all died, had she only had a little bit of willow to chew, all of her children would have survived apparently. But you know, you get these little myth stories that come along. So here we go. Let's connect with Hecate and hell. I've been doing these first, the tarot for each of these, but there's something that's saying to me do the Odin first. But I think it's just because they want to pull out hell. We know she's there. So, Hecate, hell, underworld goddess. What would you like to tell us about the willow, the message of the willow, the message of the third eye? What would you like to tell us right now? Oh, look, it's about jilted lovers. I just said, in the 17th, 16th, 17th century, that was the one part of the story that I felt was not particularly good. But it's talking about this. This is interesting. Ah, this in the series of the runes is followed by mirrored souls and comes with the energy of sadfish, which is the energy of emotional bleeding, the fish out of water choking. This is really interesting. This is the guy who has a wife, and yet he's a bit in love with this elven woman just behind, and he can't make his mind up what he wants, and the wife's armed with a knife, and the elven spirit's just like, I'm not waiting around for you. So it's really interesting. This is the energy frequency of a wrong man, not a wronged man, a wrong man, a wrong-un, a real wrong-un, a narcissist. He's being all kind of like, and yet she's getting ready to cut him out of her life, but she's just waiting. She's just waiting to get his mistress to sod off first, so that he comes back to her, and then she's like, I'm out of here, bitch. That's so bizarre. Right, we've got some other cards. Oh, we've got another one card down here. The false emperor. This is interesting, people. The willow, the weeping willow, the false emperor, the damage done by twin flame frequency. They're saying to me, stop with the toxic twin flame shit, is what they're saying. I can't express this enough. It's a really toxic concept. You know, there are many readers, there are many mediums. I've come across people who come to me for healings who know that their person, their man who's left them, was bad energy for them. And yet, even when every part of the message of the cards tells them, move on, they go, but someone told me we were twin flames. Look, you can be twin flames, but you're misunderstanding the concept of it. My narcissist ex, I can call him a twin flame, I know that in another existence, he and I live in bliss, but not here right now. That was a pre-incarnation contract where we came down to hurt each other so that in another time in the future, we can laugh about that and be in blissful happiness. But it will not happen in this world. They're toxic relationships to help you to grow into a new frequency where you appreciate that you are pure waterfall emotions that deserve your equal mirror and not your toxic, fire, the thing that's trapping and burning you in a false energy. So, I feel like now we can go to the Odin. I don't know whether we want the Odin or whether we might have to do a few. Sorry. I feel like I need to just do the Odin and then I need to do the Chemin de Leve. This is a very heavy message that needs to come out. I'm being given Heimdall because Heimdall hears everything. Heimdall is the bridge. Heimdall is saying that somehow you're not seeing the clarity of what he's playing to you. You're not seeing the truth of some kind of energy. And it's interesting, there's very many echoes in the shape of this card with the symbol of the Watergefall. This notion of the energy descending as emotions from on high, from the moon. Let's go into this evil pathways. So, wow, who knew Willow was going to bring that up? That's a really heavy energy. And it's an energy that needed to be said. Because there are a lot of you that's still being caught up in twin flames. Let go of them. They were earth energy frequency to teach you a lesson. You've got to move into mirror soul frequency. It's a whole different love energy. So what have we got down here? Resilience. This is interesting. Your ego is being resilient to the change. It's almost like the spirit of the willow can't bear to look at you because you can't hear the truth. That's so fascinating. Sorry, I'm sounding a bit shouty, but I mean, they're being really firm. The spirit of willow is being really firm in my head. So, I am going to get some more tarot, but I just want another one of these first. Oh, look, and they're banging me against that card like you are being damaged over and over again. I know I'm really hurting that card, but yeah, look, La Traverse, you've turned your back on the opportunity that you're supposed to see. They're showing me there's a whole cosmic dream. They're showing me the energies of the Rev. They're showing me all kinds of things. You're being shackled. You're being held down by your ego's insistence on not seeing the truth. So, let's just go back to the tarot. It's a bit heavy. Sorry, people. So, there was a real energy then of kind of cosmic magic coming in as a 3, 6 and 9 frequency of the Tesla code to really rapidly shake through something so that you will understand 3, 6 and 9. It's all here. There's a new beginning. There is a new beginning. There's a new energy. There's a new dawn. There's a new light that is coming towards you. But you have to step away from the false emperor and you have to move towards the true emperor. I know, yeah, this is the Page of Pentacles, but he's a true spiritual energy. The other is a wrong un. Just going to say it's a wrong un. Your twin flames are wrong un, your mirrored souls are right un. Don't make any sense, but you get the message. See yourself for your own true aspects. I'm going to pull another Odin just to end because that was all about them, but what do you need to do? What is it within you that you need to bring forward? What do you need to understand about yourself to move on from this toxic energy? It's like you've listened to a bad spiritual practice. So what do you need to do? What do you need to do? What do you need to do? You need to understand that there's a written destiny. This is the Norns. This is the water. They write the destiny of everything. You need to accept that part of this, as I said earlier, it was a pre-incarnation contract. It was written in the heavens that you would move from your false emperor to grow into yourself and bring yourself towards a true mirrored energy. Someone that's meant to bring you wonder. Okay, so that's Willow. Right, oh my God, we're on 2 hours and I'm only halfway through. I'm so sorry, people. There's probably not enough space on my computer to even download this and then upload it. If that's the case, I'll have to split it into 2 halves. But we will get it up. Well, it's obviously up because you're watching it. Getting a little bit like thirsty and hungry now though, and I'm only halfway through. So, where are we going next? Olga's going to pick us another card. I put them down there so that, oi, there was a wobbly little moment. Is that the one you want? There's 2 falling. Yeah, cool. Oak. Oak. So we have oak. No joke, it's oak. Right, oak. Oak obviously has an original rune. It's as, ak. Oak is the king of trees, and it's an F. Because it's a king of trees, it's the lower heart chakra. I'm wanting to burp now. Like oak wants to release. I think what they're saying is, it's releasing what Willow just talked about. Our Willow was a heavy old energy, very uncomfortable energy, and actually I sense a lot of you are quite angry about that last one. You have to move with it. So oak. Oak is linked very much to the supreme gods of many religions because oak, because of its high water content, gets struck by lightning a lot more than any other tree. And so it's very much king energy. Okay, so it's an F, the lower heart chakra, the natural world, our connection to the natural world through the king of the forest. Just wait for that card to go, because that's not the king of the forest. I want to say immediately, I'm getting a tightening around my throat collectively. You've got to connect to the natural world, people. Don't fear the energy of the natural world. There was a real sense of a kind of like a fear that came across you. Not all of you, but some of you. I just got my mind slightly distracted then because Olga's dropping loads of hugely painted runes all over the floor. Have you just done that one somewhere?
No, not yet.
No, but I can see ash. I can see the Yggdrasil one down on the floor there. It's exciting. They're big. They're big. Just like the oak's energy's big. So, Oak's energy is quite difficult. I just want to say that. It's not easy dealing with the oak energy. It's king energy, and there's something a little bit awkward about oaks. You know, I'm getting this frequency coming through, which is because you keep chopping us down and building homes and things with us, and you don't think about us. You do everything around the king of the, you know, this is regal natural world frequency, and we're just chopping it up willy-nilly. And there's a sense of fury, indignation coming from the spirit of oak. It's like, look, it's saying to me, you use me as a metaphor and then you just chop me down. Okay, so this is interesting. When I was 7, we used to do poetry classes. I can see where this is going. I'll get there in the end. Let's do the story. 2, I used to do poetry classes on a Monday, and it would be like the theme was autumn or the theme was summer or whatever. 1 week it was trees. So everyone wrote, you have to discuss it all, what kind of things, what words can you use to describe trees, and people would go, the tree is tall, it has green leaves, you know, that kind of poetry. My poem at 7, and I don't remember really writing this, it must have been one of my earliest moments of channeling, and I don't have the poem anymore, but my mother did have it for a long time. It began, I am a tree, and the energy of it was watching lumberjacks cutting down my parents who were trees. And then the poem ended as I felt an axe in my side. I had a thorn in my side earlier. I had a piece of grass. So yeah, poetry about a tree being cut down. The oak tree, it's not saying don't cut me down, but the oak is trying to say we don't respect the energy of trees. We put greed and profit over the respect that trees require. Right now they're giving me ringing in both my ears, but it's not just ringing there. It's forming a thing in my pineal gland and my, I can't remember what it's called. Something like mandala obligata, but that's not the word. It's gone out my head. It's the thing at the back of your head at the top of the spine that's a pain in the neck. And it is right now a pain in the neck. So, thunder lightnings, Zeus, Jupiter, Thor, all those kind of gods that throw thunderbolts, fury. I'm also, there's a connection to mistletoe. So I want to say, if you've picked oak, there's a kind of notion that the mistletoe represents us. Now that's interesting. I started this reading twice and began both times with oak. And the story was different. And now that I'm in the true channeling frequency for it, the oak is telling me that we are the mistletoe. We are the thing that's trying to say we want to live symbiotically in the natural world. And yet we're the poison that's killing it. Like the mistletoe refused to protect Baldur and was eventually the dart and the arrow that killed him. So we are killing the light of nature by our human behaviour. So, obviously, as I've said, they've been used to build houses, also used in the tanning industry. But the part they want me to get onto that's really interesting, aside from the fact that there are 2 giant oak trees that used to be in a procession up to Glastonbury tour in Britain, who are called Gog and Magog, which are the 2 giants of British sort of folklore, is the thing about the oak ghoul, the ghoul of him. So there's a wasp that's called a ghoul wasp, and it waits for the bud of the oak tree to come forwards, and then it stings it and plants its eggs inside the bud. Now the bud then changes its DNA and doesn't grow into a proper bud, but turns into an oak ghoul, which looks like a very small apple from about 2 to 4 centimetres in size. And eventually the larvae hatch out inside, and then they break free and they become wasps. But the oak ghouls were used to make ink and they used to mix them with gum arabic, which comes from the Acacia Senegal. And so this is the notion of the ink, the writing down of law, of rule. They're talking about the universal balance, the energy that we see within Libra. And you will see later when we move on to another of the trees, which is the Queen of Trees, that there are connections to cosmic universal law and balance. But for the moment, this is about the oak tree being the king frequency within this. So in terms of the medicinal qualities that we have of an oak tree, the snuff from the powdered root was used to treat tuberculosis. It's also been used as a quinine substitute for fevers when that hasn't been available. Modern science can tell you that they know that within the energy of the oak tree there are the healing frequencies of having astringency, fever reduction, it has tonic qualities, antiseptic, antiviral, anti-tumour, and can also deal with worms and parasites. So that's oak. Let's get some story on oak. So the great king of oak, the forest. I mean, obviously in other countries there are trees far more. I don't really want to say that because I feel like the oak tree is about to smack me on the inside of the head. But there are other trees that are considered, you know, kings of their own areas, you know, much bigger trees or whatever. We're dealing here with the Anglo-Saxon trees that link to our runes for the moment. So what would the oak like to say? It's so funny. It's showing Mother Nature crowning the oak tree. That's really interesting. It's saying that ultimately the energy comes from Gaia. And I don't mean Gaia the earth. I mean Gaia the frequency of the Empress, of the High Priestess. It's the energy that birthed everything, because Gaia creates Uranus and then together they create the pantheon of gods. This is Uranian energy, universal cosmic law. This is like young mother time. I know we had old mother time earlier, but it's not something I've ever mentioned before. But she's crowning, it's Empress frequency crowning the physical world in love to create life. So what else has oak got? Ace of Wands, Ace of Passions, the love of the natural world. It's the respect of the law of the universe. And aces are springtime when it's the Ace of Wands. There's something about it's like the trees, they're saying the physical energy, the trees never forget the frequency of the goddess behind all things. I'm calling it the goddess so that we understand, but Gaia, Uranus, is one energy that has both masculine and feminine. It's consciousness, it's everything. But within the physical world, the natural world never forgets the energy of source, is a better way of saying it. But it's being represented here as divine feminine consciousness versus raw, emotional and divine masculinity. So what else would you like to say, oak tree? So I've got a card stuck on my hand, which is going there because it's the last one that fell. So I have two cards, the Four of Pentacles and the Tower. And I'm not sure which way around they go. I didn't see them as they landed. And I can't work out whether taking the blindfold off causes the Tower moment or the tower moment has to happen to take the blindfold off. But the energy behind it is being in the real world, being in the world and being somehow unable to scent the world, unable to see the beauty of the world. The oak is just saying the whole world is so beautiful. So they're drawing me to the skeletons. You're putting philosophical values, notions of life before the natural world. You're putting your faith in brick structures, in stone. You're putting your faith in institutions when actually life worked when we just read the cycles of the natural world and lived within the natural world. So they're talking about the rise of the Industrial Revolution, and it's time to put the energy to bed. Oh, look. They're now showing me this as not just crowning the oak, but crowning humans and the disappointment that the age of man has created to the natural world. It's time to bring an end to it. I'm being pulled into Pluto frequency, which is interesting because that's the nervous system. No, the spine. So that's going back to the yew tree. This is a problem that has been going on for millennia. Millennia. What do we need to do, oak? It's like that was in my fingers. It's the card I had the other day. We need our independence. We need to be independently minded. We need to break free of the structures that trap us. What else? Why are we seeing this guy being frozen and put to sleep in this Three of Swords? Right, so we've got the energy of Gaia, Uranus here. So this is that energy, the giant frequency of Gaia and Uranus, coming together to birth something new, to bust everything open. So, have I said that the oak tree is Leo? I haven't, but it's about the ego. We have to bust through the ego of everyone, every human. This divine right that you believe you have to do whatever you want is killing you. It's killing others. It's killing the world around you. The oak is saying our sense of having our independence from the giantness of the world around us is wrong. It's causing our death. We have to reconnect. We have to find the divine spark again. We have to wake up and smell the flowers. Never mind wake up and smell the coffee. We have to become aware of the world in which we live. So I'm just going to put an Odin on. What does oak want us to do? What does oak want us to do? What does oak want us to do? Let go of the ego, let go of the I, let go of that notion that you can do what you want. Spirit is going to open a giant, great big portal for us to let go of the I and heal. Look, I know it's a male and a female, but they're talking about the energy. Do you, because it's this navy blue theme that's been coming through, do you want to heal from the death that is your inevitability, or do you want to embrace a new life and live in the world with the world, with the natural world, with the oak, with the king of the forest. That's what oak is asking you to look at. So, that's oak. And now we're going to move on to another one. So, let's just put all the cards back in different spaces. So peckish now. The trees are making me very, 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 very hungry. So, that's oak gone. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just 5 left now. How long have we been? 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's going to be my longest ever video. I'll probably never upload. I've got no signal. So, I can't look. I can't look. Olga's just gone out. Obviously, she's hungry. So, what's the time? Oh, it's 4 o'clock. Right, we're having Aspen. Now, this is going to confuse you slightly because Bjarken is usually the birch tree. But in Anglo-Saxon, it's the poplar tree, and aspen is a branch of poplar. And yeah, this is a symbol of birth, but this is not about physical birth now. This is about the birthing of consciousness, shifting your consciousness. So, let's find aspen. Aspen, 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 aspen. Aspen, aspen, aspen. Aspen, the tree of heroes. It's interesting. So, aspis in Greek means shield, and it's a very lightweight wood, and it's a B flat. This is the nervous system. Oh yeah, because the aspen tree shimmers its leaves like thousands of sequins. So, bit of a noisy car out there trying to jangle your nerves. But I'll hopefully move on in a minute. I'm going to sing that in a minute because I really need that to move because that's loud. Move! That was good. See, that was making my nerves jangle. So, B flat, A sharp. That was really quite clean, like you're ready. You're stabilizing your nervous systems. Beautiful people. So, aspen, poplar. Aspen is about protection from psychic and physical harm, traditionally. It's also the energy between the warrior and the enemy. It's that protection between the warrior and the enemy. You call upon the aspen as a protective, the shield tree. It protects buried treasures and allows the dead to return between heaven and earth, to come back to life. So it's often planted on burial mounds. That was the one that came up earlier in ash. Yeah, an ash is too big to go on a burial mound. This is the plant that helps us to move through our own personal Yggdrasil tree, or when we're dead. So, the Populus tremula is the trembling poplar tree, which is such a beautiful idea. This shimmering, rustling, glittering frequency. So it has very round leaves with wavy edges, and it has very pale undersides, a little bit like the reversal of the moon, the dark moon and the light moon, the different sides of the energies. It has long flattened stalks and they shimmer in the wind. It's burial mounds, and I'm being told there's something of the energy of Bifrost frequency as discovered as the Homeward Journey, when Robin Ream did the lovely reading that included the Bifrost rune. There's the rustling, the whisper inspires those who can stop and listen to the magical frequency of the wind moving through the aspen. It's very air frequency. It creates sun dappling through its many leaves, and this encourages contemplation and a meditative state of mind. In Gaelic, it's spelled Crithian, Critheann, but it's pronounced Crian. And if you put the leaf underneath your tongue, it will inspire eloquence within you. It's a gift from the fairy queen. So it's no good using the wood for fishing or agriculture because it's a fairy tree, and very much like the Rowan, it will be cursed. It will stop the endeavour. So you cannot use aspen for fishing or agriculture in any way, shape or form. Also, it's said, just like the Rowan, to be one of the trees that was used for the cross that crucified Jesus. And so aspens have been given a bad name by Christianity when it was worshipped by paganism. And that's part of this. I'm bringing this up. I didn't want to in many ways because I like to avoid religions and sort of saying that religions are not good. But it's to remind us how the use of calling it shimmering, its shamefulness at the fact that it was the tree used to kill Christ, was about disconnecting us from a very important tree energy. And that's something which churches and religions shouldn't do. We should be embracing the animism, the magic inside all of the natural world. So aspen wood is very lightweight and buoyant, and it's often used for oars and paddles, also surgical splints, because you don't want some heavy wood holding your broken leg together. And it's also used for the bottom of wagons because of its lightness, so that the wagon's not so heavy, so that when you load your wagon up, that's what creates the weight and it can still be pulled. It's also one of the most ideal woods for sculpting. So there's something about carving energies from it. It's not suitable, however, for house building, but it is great for floorboards because aspen doesn't burn very easily. So it's a really good, it's knowing your escape route. By using aspen, you can see a way out of something because it won't burn. So aspen leaves were used in for cattle in scarce times. It's used to treat fears and apprehensions. The bark and the leaf with other herbs can treat joint pain, prostate discomfort, back trouble, sciatica, neuralgia and bladder problems. So that's the lovely aspen. Let's come into this energy of the aspen. I am seeing this as a shielding energy of both psychic and physical. It's like having two shields. It's usually an energy of birth, but it's just interesting how the runes are beginning to shift as we explore them differently. So, spirit of the aspen tree. I love an aspen tree. I really love that sequin shimmering frequency of the aspen. So I have the King of Swords and the Empress and the Eight of Pentacles. So the first is this energy of the shimmering pentacles, of the leaves, the light dappling coming through. But he's working on a single boot. He's like a cluricorn. He's making just one shoe, Pluricorns are the Irish cobblers of the fairies. Why one shoe? Why one shoe? I need to just pull a different card to do with. Why one shoe? Why one shoe? Because you're birthing something new. Oh, why one shoe? Because you're birthing something new. Because you haven't yet decided on your journey forwards. You haven't laid the floorboards to move forwards. This is really interesting. You haven't decided yet whether you're ready and protected for the frequencies you're moving towards. There's a snake in both of these cards. When you're ready, you will ride forwards. Shoes, horses, shoeing a horse. There's something about that. There's also dragon tail snake energy on this. This is to change an energy of shame, to remove a frequency, to build something anew. Rider is very much an energy of something new coming in. This is there's something about frozen, shameful emotions. The dragon is a water dragon. There's an electricity though to this dragon. There's this guy, I forget who he is. He lost his hand. It's very much tear frequency, but this guy has an artificial silvered hand, and it's like having a firm grip or too firm a grip on a mental blockage. You need to allow the energy of the Aspen to change, to give you a consciousness shift. And that's the dragon. I said water dragon, but they're saying it's air dragon. It's a wind dragon. Oh, this is Aquarius. It's fixed energy. You've got to break through the fixed energy. You've got to ride away from the old notions. There's a new energy. There's a new... You're not working on the one shoe for a new journey. You should be working on the new shoe, but you're sitting repairing the old shoe that needs to be thrown away. This is not the journey forwards. You need to unblock the flow. You need to become one with the world. Empress energy, you need to rebirth your consciousness. You need to change your Aquarian fixed patterns. So let's go to the shamanic, or it might be the Odin. Let's just see. Oh no, it is totally this. Look, this has come up before. You need to face your dark side, Aquarius. It's there. It's gripped you. It's choking you. It's like you want to touch the future with this metal hand, and it's just busting open. You're being too clumsy with your weight. You're being rainbow farts, and you're breaking your future dreams because you can't understand why it is that you have this firm grip, this fix on things. So if you've picked Aspen, you really need to allow the wind of change to come in and shift your consciousness. So I am going to throw an Odin on this just to see where that's taking us. My God, 2 hours 29. We're going to be here for a year uploading, and my mobile signal doesn't work at the moment on the Portuguese thing. They've put a slowness on it, and so I have to use my UK mobile data. It's going to be massive, Bill. Anyway, Niflheimr. You got to clear the fog. You got to clear the ice. What do you have to add to clear the ice is fire. You have to add the inspirations. You have to add the passions. But somehow I'm being shown that these passions are just not there. There's no cards that show me the fire. Why is the fire missing? Why is the fire missing? Why is the fire missing? Niflheimr and Muspelheimr are the two energies. The salty rime, lickable stones that the cow licks to reveal the first human, Bestler or someone, with your mirror there. It needs the Muspelheimr flames. Why are the flames missing? What's this energy missing? What's Aquarius missing? You're missing... Look, you're missing the roots of your Yggdrasil tree. You are only showing everybody the rainbow farts part of life. If you've picked Aspen, you're living in the love and light namaste frequency, and you're ignoring what's hidden from view inside the core of your soul. Dark sorcerer frequency. You're missing facing your shadows. So, I feel like we just need to end with an Odin. So, can we please end with an Odin for Aspen, fixed Aquarian energy? Aspen. Aspen, what do you want to say at the end? Because the fires are missing Vanaheimr. Vanaheimr is the borderless society. It's like... this is so weird. They're showing me this energy with maudlinness, with a sense of sadness. They're saying you're trying to live in a fogged version of a friendly world. It's, like, I call it rainbow farts. It's, the name of it is spiritual bypassing. You have to lift your head out of the ground and stop trying to just grow a rainbow fart canopy and face your dark energies. You have to do this now. It's like the energy of all the goddesses that live in Vanaheimr friendly world. They're withdrawing their abundance until you face this. You've got to integrate your darkness. So, that's that little reading. We're moving swiftly forwards to get through these trees, Let's see what we get. We must be down to nearly 4 now. 4, right. I have 4 cards. One. I'm going to go with this one. Whoa, look. Sheila, it's yours. I hope you picked it, Sheila. Elder. This is interesting. I know a lot about this one because I'm fascinated by it. I don't want to say too much yet, but let's get the book. Let's find out what frequency. Got a feeling it's G sharp, if I remember. I feel like the trees are beginning to talk to me a bit more as we move on. Elder, G sharp, communication. Mercury, throat. So uncomfortable now sitting at the base of the Yggdrasil paintings. So, cars move. elder trees, the elder mother. She's called the Hildemur. The Hildemur in Scandinavian. She is the matriarchal tree goddess. Now, part of the reason for the confusion in this is I don't know how I channeled, and I said to Sheila when she picked up the energy while doing her rune raking on this frequency, she picked up Elder, and I said that's really interesting because I have been understanding that Elder was the first woman, but in all the mythology, Rowan is the first woman, and I channeled Elder. So I've sat with this frequency and asked, why do we have this difference between Elder and Rowan? What's the purpose? Elder is the first woman, as in a kind of Ymir hermaphrodite version. So it's moving constantly between masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine. It's an energy frequency that moves between realities. Rowan is the first point at which this masculine and feminine is split into two distinct different genders and becomes something else. So this is very much sort of the self-birthing Gaia frequency that birthed Uranus, that created the opposite, that divided itself, the source energy that split itself into different frequencies. So, if you, it's to do with good health as well, the elder. The elder flower cordial is one of my most favourite summer drinks, and since I've not been in Britain, I haven't been able to make it. But I used to make it with a mixture of the white elders and the black elders, and it's very important that you smell each flower because you want the freshest ones, and you want to cold soak them so that you remove the pollen scents without boiling them and burning them. And it is such a beautiful cordial, but I mix it with black elder, which have pinky purple edges to them, and they make it go this wonderful soft pink colour. So it's a deciduous tree, and it's connected to the fairies. And on Midsummer's Eve, and actually I'm going to reveal that this is Gemini because it's relevant to it. On Midsummer's Eve, you're supposed to go and lie or sit beneath an elder tree, and the king and queen of the fairies will walk by, the masculine and the feminine, the oak tree and the haven't told you yet which one is the queen of the forest. But so it's Gemini energy, and the very next day, which is midsummer, is the beginning of Cancer season. So it's also very much connected, elder trees, to dwellings, like the Rowan tree is. So not just the hermaphrodite beginning, but also the first woman that's in the Rowan tree. The idea is that you had to have a Rowan tree growing near your house. You also needed to have an elder tree growing near your front door because they're very incredibly powerful protective energies. Also, elder was hung around cattle to remove flies. It was also used a lot to around dairies to keep cheeses clean. There's something about the frequency of the good health, the cleansing. So branches were brought into the house, brought into the dairy, kept around cheeses. So the pithy core of the wood is often used as tinder. So blowing air on it brings around the fires, that brings up things. As a wood itself, it's a very poor fuel because it spits and it screams. So it's got very much that G-sharp crying from the throat frequency. Also, it's a tree, really weirdly, elder, another one that's got all these wonderful life protecting properties that's been kind of suppressed by the church. It's said to be the tree in which Judas hung himself. So again, it's another of these energies where religion has stepped in to damage our connection with the natural world. It's a skin cleanser, the flowers. It can be used for eye lotions. Elderflower tea is a remedy for colds and flu symptoms. Elderberries are used for coughs and sore throats. You can also get the elderflowers, and you can dip them in batter and fry them, and they're elderflower fritters, which are delicious. It's also really interesting that the elder tree, which has got this matriarchal tree goddess frequency, also provides us with many different dyes. So the berries create blue and purple dyes, and the leaves create yellow and green dyes, and the bark creates grey and black dyes. And this was used a lot in the Harris tweed industry. And I just kind of imagine how beautiful old Harris tweed must have looked when the dyes were the natural frequencies of the natural world, rather than the synthetic colours that were created when they first invented the colour mauve in the late 19th century, and then all other chemical dyes started to come around. So there was something very precious about how dyes were once made. When I went on my first trip to Canada, we went to Canada World, which was like an old world, you know, cottages and log cabins, and showed how people lived when they first came to Canada. And everybody in the wind orchestra that I played in, they all bought kind of baseball caps and shirts. I bought a book on natural dyes. I sat on the coach going, oh look, they used to use this leaf. I've always had this obsession with the natural world and how it can bring colour into our lives. Also, pegs were made from elder to attach the thatch to roofs. So again, protective energy of this matriarchal goddess. So let's connect in and let's see what she wants to say. So, elder. Elder. The Heldemur. The Heldemur. What would you like to tell people? Ah, that's so interesting. What would she like to tell you? This was the first card. This is the Hierophant, I think. Yeah. This is the Hierophant. And this is like white druid frequency, holy healer. This is clumps of trees and mistletoes and oak. They're giving me this energy, not just of the elderflower, but they're giving this energy, of circumcision. I don't know why that's coming in. But there's a sort of sickle blade, the moon blade. It's like she's saying that since the separation from the hermaphrodite frequency, we've spent a long cycle where the masculine molecules, the masculine frequencies have dominated the program. And there's something about the energy of she's reminding me of the falseness of structured religions that remove the divine feminine. And I'm not just talking Christianity, I'm talking any religion, any major religion, she's saying, that has never accepted a woman, a female gendered member of the society, as a leader. So the message of the elder is about how this is not enough, this is enough. Both coming together. It's not enough to stand in only one energy. And then we're being given the cup of love. I'm getting a really, I'm going to have to use this pen, painful shoulder blade in the now, like there is a blockage in the now on Jupiter energy cleansing. Jupiter energy is coming in to cleanse. We haven't got to Jupiter yet. I can't even remember whether I've just sung the G sharp, but there's something about memory loss. It's like she's saying, did you forget what we were? Did he forget? Did he forget what you were? What we are? So the energy frequency is pure source love. Ace of Cups, pure emotions coming in with the Elder. You know, cordials, wines, berries, there's all this frequency of, it's real vulva, sedir, galdir magic. She's showing me this as Odin. She's showing me this as how Odin stole the magic. Not stole the magic, but how Odin sought the magic and then misused the magic. He's holding the sickle. This notion of the circumcision that they said is he cut away the energy of the female. It's kind of, they're saying it's like a form of masculine abuse, like the energy frequency of wanting only the patriarch to exist is an abuse of the natural order of the world. But there is something about the Knarthen, the Knava, the boys, the right of boy to man that's not contained within this energy frequency. There's a drowning in emotions that they fear, a fear of emotions, and yet this wonderful elder tree's ultimate story is to bring people into union, to drip with emotions. The tree in this card is highlighting energies of the past. There's apples, the apple bearer, the coming into the moment of truth. There's 1,000. It's like when we move into balance, when we accept love, when we accept that we are both masculine and feminine, when we accept the twin energies within ourselves and not fear either frequency of masculine or feminine, then you can move into this frequency where 10 of cups, 10 of emotions, 10 of wonder, 10 of love, 10 of joy, 10 of fruit. It's just like everything begins to complete itself, but it can't be completed when you stand alone in only one frequency, and that includes standing only in your feminine. They're only showing it as feminine consciousness, love, masculine frequency, but the truth of it is, this is just one frequency. It's one energy that vibrates between the inner and the outer world, and we have to bring ourselves into union to be showered with the frequency of bliss. So let's just, which star sign is this? Oh, Gemini, sorry, got a bit confused. I've been here so long, I've lost track of where I am. Oh, the Valkyrie. Protection. I feel like this is talking about pegs, pegging things, that thatching, that idea of being protected, allowing nature to protect you. The Valkyrie are a frequency of protection, but they're coming across as pegs. You need to peg. What do they need to peg? I'm seeing the thatched roof, but I don't know why it's bundles of birch, and birch was all about sweeping away things and creating something new. What are you trying to do? You're trying to peg down a new light within yourself. Elfamir, Heimdall and Elfamir. You're trying to rebirth your Yggdrasil tree. This is an energy frequency, because it's a Hildamur, this idea of the goddess, matriarchal goddess energy. It's like saying that by picking this frequency, this energy is connecting to so many more of the other stories within. It's like it's all the threads being pulled together. It's the 9 realms being drawn into one, and it's Heimdall's announcing that energy. It's a protected spiritual energy. It's divine love. It's like a return to balance, and yet it's not Libra. It's to be in your polarities. Just going to ask for one last tarot. Look, it's the norns. It's destiny. It's a change of frequency. It's to turn everything around. It's to understand the journey between maiden, mother and crone. It's the mother goddess frequency, and it's almost like Heimdall is the frequency of joining those two together, the masculine and the feminine, through a spiritual protection that's not one-sided, but works together, that brings you into balance, brings your own personal Yggdrasil tree into balance, so that you can invite somebody to picnic lovingly beneath the canopy of your Yggdrasil tree, I guess, is what this is offering to you. So that's very beautiful. So, moving on. We're getting there, people. We've just got 3 trees left. So, let's see which tree. Here comes Olga to do the trees, because I don't like doing them. Holly. So, Holly. See, this is Jupiter. This is G. We just talked about that need for the Jupiter frequency, the expansion. This is protection and freedom, I believe. Peace and freedom. Let's find it. Let's find Holly. Holly. Peace and goodwill. So, here we go. Holly. Which is a G. Setting off alarms now outside. So, holly tree. What's the holly all about? It's about peace and goodwill, as I said. But the most fascinating thing is holly is the most thunder-resistant tree. So you plant it near your home to protect your home. So, holly is the evergreen twin of the oak. And this is because the oak tree is considered to be the light half of the year, when we only had summer and winter. And the holly is the handover to the dark side of the year. But it offers peace and goodwill. It doesn't offer some kind of shadowy energy. It's a highly sacred in Celtic myth. And it's linked with Taranis and Thor because of the lightning aspect. It guards against evil, bad luck. Holly brought inside in winter will also provide shelter to the fairies and the wee folk, and in turn they will offer good rewards to you for providing them with shelter and warmth during the cold season in your dwelling. A holly wreath crown, which sounds very uncomfortable, was often worn by Celtic chieftains, and that was to symbolise good luck. They used to bathe babies in a water that the leaves had been boiled in or whatever, and it protected newborn babies. Birds often nest inside holly because the spiky leaves protect the nest. So there's a very, when I say static, it's not static in an uncomfortable way, it's static in a protected, complete sort of way. This is to show that sometimes 12th frequency, they're talking about 12th night and the 12 nights, the 12 days of Christmas energy. This energy frequency of when there's something deeply pleasant about the comfort and stability of the boundaries that the Asgards build around them. So the delicately scented flowers in the spring are much loved by bees and butterflies, because we often forget to think about holly as having any kind of existence other than in the winter when it's got its berries. So the male trees have pale yellow flowers and the female trees have white flowers. So it's used for coughs, digestive disorders, water retention and jaundice, joint pain, fevers and for swelling. And it's usually the ivy that's called the Ilex aquifolium that is used for medicinal purposes. So let's see what the god or goddess of holly, since it's both sexes, wants to say to us. What's the message, please, from the holly tree? Seven of Cups. It's like you're not ready. You're not ready, which is why you need to protect yourself. You're not ready for the treasures that holly has to offer you. You're not prepared for the frequency of the fire dragon. Yeah, here we have the Magician and the Eight of Cups. So it's talking about both the male and the female frequencies within the two different holly trees. This 12th frequency is trying to get you to have union between your heaven and your earth, the raw molecules of the raw masculine, this need to walk towards the moon, to connect to the willow frequency. The willow, you need to watch the willow, because the willow story is relevant to this. This is about you're not ready for the rewards that were contained within your toxic trap, which was the twin flame frequency, and you have to turn your back on it. So that's a collective message that's coming out now a second time. So that was Willow. So why are they not ready? Why are these people in holly frequency not ready? Oh look, you've just got the most massive spillage of cards. And I'm going to show you them very quickly. Let's just turn those two round. It's interesting. There's the energy of love, okay? There's the energy of you believing that your cup of love is full, but it's distorted by the devil in reverse, by the Eight of Pentacles, not working on yourself hard enough on your journey. The Knight of Pentacles, this is the slow and steady wins the race card, but this is, you're not even in the race. You're underneath the race. You're not part of the frequency. The reunion, the joy, the happiness, the pre-incarnation contract that's being led out there for you is not ready. And the Queen of Wands, your passions are all misfiring because you're in the wrong frequency. You're not ready for this yet. I was a bit harsh. So, inside the deck, we have some hidden cards that turned over, or at least one. 7 of Swords. You have to exit. You have to exit the relationship that you're in now because it's harmful. Well, not necessarily the relationship. You have to exit the rational way in which you think about what you should have. So the Ace of Cups, the only card that was upwards, was trying to show you that you think you understand. You think you understand the dragon's treasure, the passionate treasure, but you don't. Yeah, look, it's saying you're overburdened, you're blindfolded, you're walking on dangerous ground. You've been doing that forever. The ground is opening up almost to swallow you. And then it's talking about how there's something about your desire, this energy of a twin flame desire is like a child playing with a dolly. It's not real. Sorry, this energy is coming up yet again, but obviously the trees are trying to get you to connect to self-love, to get you to connect to your completeness. It's just so interesting. You know, it's like one of them was to do with summertime and one of them was to do with winter. There's that sort of notion of this just goes round and round and round year after year, and you know, all the hurt and all the toxicity just doesn't clear. A little bit of poetry there. The Valkyrie have come out again. They keep coming out, and every time they're coming out now, they're like pegs. You're pegging your hopes on the wrong dreams. How do you fix it, though? How do you fix it? How do you fix it? So beautiful. Idun, inner health. You fix your own inner health, and those red apples with Loki are you transform yourself. You transform yourself and the dragon will give up the gold to you. So that's Holly. Didn't expect that from Holly. I don't know what I expect from any of them, to be honest. It didn't feel like any of that was in the mythology. Maybe it was. I'm a bit brain dead now. Been sitting here a long time. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. So, I know which 2 trees we've got left. It must be Rowan and Beech. It is Rowan and Beech, but I don't know which one to pick first. So, Rowan and Beech, Rowan and Beech, Rowan and Beech. Oh, here's Olga. What have we got? Rowan. And do you know what? I'm so excited by that because actually it means that the beech is the very last one and that's the queen of the trees. So that's gorgeous. So Rowan. Rowan has got flow, the card Flursa, because Rowan is connected to first woman. And first, the Flursa card is connected to the first menstrual cycle that a girl has when she becomes a woman. So it very much feels that this card is linked very much to that energy. I didn't say, I don't think I ever mentioned at all that the last card was Sagittarius. I'm so sorry about that. So, Rowan. I'm going to start Rowan here because I don't want people that watched the last message to stop before they realise that the last one was Sagittarius. So, Rowan. Let me find Rowan for you. Rowan is linked to the Greek goddess Hebe. She was the owner of Ambrosia, the cup of joy and life. It's also, it's a D. Let's just do the D. It's the sacral. This is womb frequency. Womb frequency. This is Flursa and flow is the energy of a girl's first menstrual cycle. It's the first woman is carved from a rowan tree in many of the Norse mythological legends. So it feels like I can't bring myself up to that frequency. Let me just go back into that. Sorry. So that's the D. So Rowan bent over one day and helped Thor to escape the underworld by offering a hand, reaching out to pull Thor back. So there's a very protective energy on this. Also, Rowan is Karun. The Rowan is the Scottish name used in place names. But going back to Hebe, the goddess of youth who owned the cup of ambrosia, she sent an eagle to retrieve the cup. And as the eagle flew back after its many difficult parts to get hold of the cup from the demons, it was shedding feathers and it was shedding blood. And everywhere a feather and the blood fell, a rowan tree grew. The leaves are shaped very much like eagle's feathers and the berries are like the blood. So rowans grow from the clefts in a rock, and this is the most beautiful thing about a rowan. Rowans are the original wood from which runes were carved, which is a really beautiful fact because we often think of them as rune stones. But originally they were used with the magic of the rowan tree, which is very much a fairy tree because of the white flowers that are involved. Also, rowan berries, opposite their stalk, they have a 5-pointed flower that was the white flower that's now turned into the top of the berry, and that represents a pentacle. So they're full of earth magic. And also red is a very good colour to protect against any kind of dark psychic frequencies that come towards you. Sometimes people make crosses bound with red thread from the rowan tree. And the May Eve, so the 30th of April, is very much a rowan day from Scotland to Cornwall when they use these crosses for protection. So you must never use a knife to cut a rowan tree. The wood of a rowan tree is very strong and is excellent for tool handles, walking sticks, spindles and spinning wheels. Did we not have something to do with Scotland? This is what this energy frequency, I've been waiting for that Scottish thing to come through, is to do with this frequency. So the Druids used to make a bark, used the bark and the berries to dye garments a deep black colour for lunar ceremonies. And when we first looked at this, was about the connection of the lunar moon. And actually, in the original reading, it came after Holly. So that's, again, we're just getting reminders of mini cycles. The two parts of the moon unjoined causing static, the point at which the womb and the moon come together to create flow and to create first blood. So it's also a good divining wood for finding metals. And the berries in Scotland are used to make an alcoholic drink that's very strong. In Wales, they use it to make an ale, and the Irish use it to flavour mead. And there's also a thing called Rowan berry jelly, which is very delicious, that they still make in Scotland. So that's the Rowan. Let's throw in some cards onto that. And then we've only got one left, and we're on 3 hours and 9 minutes, so let's just try and get there. So here we go. Oh, it's Virgo. I nearly forgot to add that again. It's Virgo because it's Persephone frequency. It's the idea of going into the underworld, to the fast. It's because that's the hand that reached out to help Thor, is the frequency of the goddess in the underworld. It's a kind of very much the kindness of Hecate and Hell, but it's Persephone frequency. Persephone, who dwells within the underworld of Hades for 6 months of the year and then comes back out. So it's a mystical energy. So, Spirit of Rowan. Oh, we're missing some cards there. I just need to put those cards back in. So, Rowan. Rowan, what are you throwing my way? Okay, so this is too weird. I just put all these cards back in separately, and yet they've bounced out. I have to go with them. So that was just recently here. That's Persephone frequency connecting to the moon. And there's something about the energy of Hades. This is coming back with that energy of, it's like a pre-programming, an ancient DNA trauma. I want to say Persephone had a bit of a flaw, not for Thor, but for Hades. And she chose to turn her back on her family and go into the darkness because it was an emotional pull. It was a teenage emotional pull. Oh, interesting. And then we have the Devil card. And this is how it all seemed to be such a kind of trap. And yet I am getting the energy of it being fun. You know, of it being part of life, and that it was the world around that wanted to shame a teenager. That's really interesting. To shame a teenager, to conjure up a dark kind of magic, when really this was the reverse just now, but this now is coming across as first love almost, and being shamed, being burnt. It's the Five of Wands, it's almost like being set up. It's almost like being set up by society to fail in your love, in your passion. That's really fascinating. I didn't expect that to be the energy of Rowan. Can we have some more information on that? That's a really surprise story. So parched. Can we please have a bit more information on this teenage love? Pachamama is here as a kind of it's difficult. She's like an expansion of the ego. She's like a growth. It's like coming towards adulthood and knowing your own mind, but how you're being set up to be scorched by your own thoughts because society won't allow that frequency. And then there's a series of cards here that fell together. It's like the Jaguar is here as an energy of karma, and we have the Gatherer. So that's sacral energy again. There's something about sacral soul retrieval and completion. Look at this. It's like I'm getting the story in my head of that moment when either your parents just say your first love is wrong, or they encourage your first love, and then as you gather all those things and it all somehow falls apart around you through friends, through peer pressure, whatever it is that doesn't allow the energy to work out, it's only then that your parents or whatever, the people around you say, yeah, well, we didn't really like that person. There's something about that. It's like there's a deceit that goes on around the truth of love, because in many ways it wouldn't matter what anyone told you. First love is just such a powerful frequency that you can't hear, and you can't be told, oh, the lashing of the tongue. You know, you can't be told. You'd sooner pull the tongue out of somebody than accept the truth. But there is still an energy of being set up to fail. It's interesting. So, the card is actually to move on to the rainbow. It's like these two are together because they're separate to the other two cards. So it's like understanding yourself will move you from the rain, from the trauma, from the failure, to seek something new, something golden, something beautiful. But you have to go through. It's like they're sort of saying, not just first love, but we all have to go through an awful love to seek a better love. It's really interesting. This is the third reading now where this energy to do with love, twin flames, mirrored souls, all of those kind of energies has come in again. And it's on the Rowan, the energy of the Virgin, the Virgo frequency. And this card has come out before. 10, realm, to create something new. That's where this rainbow is heading. And soul retrieval. To retrieve the soul, you have to move on to a new realm. It's interesting, this is 13 frequency. And Flursa has very much got the energy of 13 after the energy of Holly that came before. I just need to ask, would they like to say one last thing? Would you like to add one last thing to this story of the need to go through pain, and then you get new love? You go back to the teenage energy, but you have to fix yourself. You have to go through the pain. You have to see the trauma. You have to receive your soul retrieval. You have to complete the pain. They're showing me this as like a mustard rubbed heart that's on fire with agony, to change your outlook so you can fly towards a dream of a new kind of energy. First love coming back, not the first one you loved, but the energy of first love returning to you. Yeah, first soul love from way back when, millions of years before this. But it's that sense of, it's so wonderful because he's like riding a giant seahorse through beds of seaweed. It's like an energy returning from the Akashic records to seek you out through the flow. So that's the energy of that. Now we're on the last one, people. It gets very exciting for me with an almost exhausted voice now. To just nearly be at the end of this reading. So, if you've watched them all, you can obviously guess which star sign hasn't been brought up yet. But if you haven't, I'm not telling you yet. If you've just jumped forwards to watch just Beech, I'm not going to tell you yet. So, Beech. We don't need any card to be selected. Here is the card of Beech, and it's Leafshade, the leaf shade. And this is because the beech is the queen of the forest. She has the most magnificent canopy to protect all around her. And you can see it in the rune. The two lines that come through the rune are the branches reaching out to protect, and they're bringing down an energy from above to protect you in the world below. So let's look at Beech, and we need the note for Beech, which I know is an F sharp, because this is the energy of the queen bringing down consciousness to the higher heart, whereas the oak, the king, brought the F of the lower heart. So here we are. This is where we love others. I feel like your pulses are racing. I can feel collectively this energy of kind of like a nervous flutter within the heart. I'm getting a sense of a fear within the heart. I'm getting a sense of pain within the heart that shouldn't be there. None of it should be there. So go into this calmly. So, Beech, the queen of the forest. I like that we've ended on the goddess frequency. So, this is the Celtic god Fagus, but we're not going to worry about Fagus. Fagus is the genus, and it's linked to oaks and chestnuts. But this is Beech, the partner of the stately oak and the mother of the woods. Beech groves are important in the ancient religions, particularly around Avebury. I've been sitting on this chair so long, I need to pull my shorts a bit. I've got an uncomfortable groin. Sorry about that. So, here's the thing. If you go back to the oak, you'll remember that oak galls of the king of the forest were used to make ink from where the gall wasp had stung them. Now, the old word for beech in Anglo-Saxon was bok, B-O-K. And the beech was used to slice very thin sheets that were used to write upon, and so that became the word book. And so you very much feel that sense of the king and the queen, these figures of authority pushing down and writing universal law. So I'm just going to admit this is Libra. And Libra is about bringing balance, bringing cosmic law, and that's very much a frequency that we're coming to at the moment. So we have in Welsh mythology Henwen, who is the great white sow, this big beautiful female piggy. She ate beech nuts because they contained all the wisdom. They contained the books of wisdom. They contained the universal law within the energy of the beech tree. So also they were used, the beech nuts. Humans would gather them in communities to stave off the colder winter months when there was very little food. Rather importantly, the dome of the tree is where the magic is at. They can be about 40 to 140 feet tall and 40 to 60 feet wide. And they make sumptuous canopies of golden brown hues. Now, in spring, the leaves of the beech are dazzling lime green with small tiny hairs all over them that shed as they darken. It has a grey, smooth bark, and in winter they have copper-coloured torpedo buds, and they have both male and female flowers upon them. And then spring, the male catkins dangle, and the female flower clusters grow on a different part of the tree. And they're pollinated by wind, and Libra is obviously cardinal air frequency. They're like a well-drained soil, and they offer dense shade, the leaf shade, this ability to protect others. But they also drop leaf litter that's really long-lasting. So beech leaf litter doesn't dissolve very well, and it stops most other plants from growing. But the most wonderful thing is, one of the main things that does love to grow in a beech forest are bluebells, and if the soil is quite chalky, then beautiful rare orchids come up. So there's something bejeweled about the skirt, the floor of the forest of the Queen of the Trees. And look, it's the Queen of the Trees. It's the Venus energy that rules Libra as well, working here. So, beech timber is used for furniture and also cooking utensils because it doesn't split and break up. It keeps its form very well. It's used to smoke herring. It burns very well, but it burns with a really calm flame. And I loved reading that. I love the fact that, older humans, when they understood all the different trees and the woods around them and the natural world, they knew which woods did what, and they knew that beech burnt with a calm flame. So, poultices of the leaves are brewed to help and reduce swelling. It's also used against boils, piles, and skin complaints. Maybe that's why I had an uncomfortable groin just now. I don't have piles. Just saying. So, the wood of the beech is used to make drums. The bark is an astringent. You can also make aged beech leaf tea. And tars from the timber help to create creosote, which goes back into that notion of creating something that you put over another wood to protect it. The canopy that protects things. The queen looking over her kingdom, her empire. And then also it's linked very much to babies and children. So through Phagus, not through the actual tree itself, but through the god Phagus. So let's just see, what is our last message from the Queen of Trees, the beech? Oh, copper beech trees are also very interesting because they have a genetic difference, which means that their entire body is in that wonderful copper colour. And again, it's one of those things where often the rumour will be that a copper beech tree is full of negative energy. It's like, can we just stop all this negative energy crap and embrace the fact that the natural world's a beautiful thing? Look, you came out. Justice, the card of Libra came out, and she is inside the tree. This is the queen of the forest, and she is bringing balance. Fabulous. What's your story, though? What's the message? That's really interesting. We're getting a lot of repeat frequencies, really a lot of repeat frequencies. It's a journey through life. This is the notion of growing from child. There's something about trust. Trust the world, trust the nature, trust the spirit of the fairies rather than the energies of the humans. It's not saying don't be part of the human world, but it's trust in the natural abundance of the world rather than in the monetary abundance of humanity. And then it's growing up. Look, they're saying this is that energy of understanding how beech wood burns calmly. It's like a flame. It's like an energy frequency of the beech, just like was it Birch at the very beginning that said it's always been inside you with its pollens. There's something about this frequency of beech is the frequency that develops a wonderful calmness as you grow through life. And it's again talking about Mother Maiden Crone moving through the natural destiny of things, changing with time, changing as you age, sorting out the twists within your mind that cause the distortions. But in all of this, there's a sense of the consistency of the fairy world and the natural world, the fantasy world, the imagination. They're showing me the symbols. I can't think what they're called. They're not runic as such, but they're to do with trees, and they're a series of lines. They're lessons. There's something to do with I'm very much seeing the energy of like the F sharp, the heart chakra, the higher heart chakra being kind of scattered to be gathered throughout life as you grow. That's going into that message that we've just had on Holly. The need to go through the trials of life to grow into your fullness, to bring yourself into the frequency of being crowned in, like, I don't want to say in your own goddess energy, because it isn't just that. It's about being crowned in your own sovereignty, sovereign of yourself. Because down here, the story begins with two figures, regardless of whether they're two guys. That's not part of the journey as such. The point of the journey is that we have both masculine and feminine, and we're trying through the journey to bring balance in a world that's very masculine heavy, and in an imagination that's feminine heavy, to bring balance to our sovereignty so that we can be crowned, by the natural world as being part of the natural world, remembering that we are the frequency of the world. So what else would you like to add? Mystical shaman. We have the frequency of eagle, air, coming down. They're showing me this as spiritual crowning. The beech tree is offering you a spiritual crowning, a cosmic law to be crowned with a balance of cosmic law. Oh, because you are beloved. You are beloved. You are that frequency. When you reconnect with the natural world, when you find your sovereignty, you are in balance with the earth. Oh, God, Libra. Beech pickers. That's such beautiful. Now I'm getting ringing in the now, in my ear. It's a bee. It's coming down to change the consciousness. It's coming down to change the crown chakra. It's coming down so that you crown yourself with the natural world. You have to find that frequency to allow the spirit of the forest, Mother Nature, Father Nature. It's all out there. All of that energy, you have to allow that to come into you. Allow your crown chakra to be changed. Allow your thought processes to be changed. Move into the frequency of being beheld and beloved by the natural world. And then the earth. You will be the earth. You will come into the earth. I'm not going to do any more. That feels like a really lovely place to end. So, that's the very long message. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all very soon. Wassail.